Finally, the Infinity War's upon us. But what fates await for our superheroes? This is the biggest question fans and critics constantly ask. Well, after years of watching and reading everything Marvel, we've figured out the best answers.
Tell me!
But before we get started, make sure you take a quick moment to click on that subscribe button. You'll join our notification squad and stay up to date with these types of videos and more.
I shouldn't be alive. Unless it was for a reason. I just finally know what I have to do.
Iron Man. If any of the main superheroes are gonna kick the bucket, Iron Man is definitely number one on that list. By the time part 2 of the Infinity War is released, Iron Man will have been in 8+ movies. Plus, he's been mentoring Spider-Man like crazy, and the MCU has been building that as a father-son relationship for Tony. It could possibly be a perfect way for Tony to pass off the torch to Spider-Man, or at least have an amazing, overly sappy moment between the two.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Yeah, you're done, all right? You did a good job. Stay down.
I'm good, I'm fine.
Stay down.
No, it's good. I gotta get him back.
You're going home or I'll call Aunt May.
He's also been in the MCU from the get-go, and this would rock the very foundation of the Avengers. His death would then create the perfect martyr for everyone to rally behind and kick some supervillain butt.
Nice call. What else you got?
On top of all that, realistically, Iron Man's storyline doesn't have anywhere to go. He already has everything he wants in life, except Pepper. This would leave Iron Man 4 being a romantic comedy with Iron Man chasing after Pepper. Besides all that, the most convincing argument is from Robert Downey Jr.'s own words. He's on record stating he wants out of the MCU before things get embarrassing. Ouch. It's as though he knows what's gonna happen after Phase 3's finished.
Captain America, God's righteous man, pretending you could live without a war.
Captain America. If there were any other superhero high on the list, that is definitely Captain America. One of the biggest factors being that Cap would love it. Dying to save the world? Yeah.
Fire now.
But Steve...
Do it! Do it now!
He was designed for that. Nothing would bring him greater joy than meeting his demise in the effort of the greater good. This would also send a clear message to viewers that Marvel isn't going to stand idly by and let you feel as though everyone is safe from death. This would create a lot of uncertainty for the viewers, which is good in storytelling. Another great point to this story is that Iron Man has a vision where he saw Captain America's shield broken and all his teammates dead. If this vision holds to be true, either Marvel will be doing a lot of character resurrection sequences or Iron Man will be taking over everything.
Oh, actually, he's the boss. I just pay for everything and design everything and make everyone look cooler.
Lastly, Chris Evans, who portrays Captain America, has been vocal about wanting to leave the MCU. Evans wants to take a break from acting and/or pursue other acting gigs. Being a superhero pays great, but the consequence is the ever-sucking of one's soul in the lackluster role with little to no depth in the character development.
I will fight beside you. And in the end, see my wife and daughter again.
Drax. Drax is one of those characters who's just so rough around the edges it makes him adorable.
I am Groot.
Okay, maybe not so much adorable as Groot, but pretty damn close. His straightforward persona, which he says anything he's thinking with no filter, is endearing.
I get it, yes. I am a dancer, Gamora is not.
You just need to find a woman who is pathetic. Like you.
You always know where you stand with him. He's also a man who has been thirsty revenge since the day we met him. Drax was constantly obsessed with killing Ronan the Accuser, who was the evil Kree who slaughtered Drax's entire family in front of him. Drax then found out it was Thanos who ordered the attack, and so Drax changed his revenge mission to killing Thanos. This history between Thanos and Drax is not just in the movies, but throughout the comic books. There's even a moment when Drax punches Thanos' heart out of his body. The MCU could use a similar scene in Infinity War, but instead have it so Drax sacrifices himself to save everyone. This would be a perfect end to Drax's story. A rough, hard-to-love loner who makes the ultimate sacrifice for his friends and the world, where he then reunites with his family in the afterlife.
Look, I just need to know because the city is flying. Okay, look, the city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
Hawkeye. If there were a character who Marvel could kill off and still feel as though they continue their franchise making gobs of money, it would be Hawkeye. Even Hawkeye reflected upon himself in the movies on how underpowered and useless he is in fighting with the Avengers. This was when they were fighting an army of robots on the Flying Mountain in the second Avengers movie, and he states how all he has is a bow and arrow. Hawkeye even talks all the time about wanting to retire and spend more time with his family, which, if he were to die, would be a guttural punch for audiences who connect emotionally with the films, instead of pure purely visually. A problem though is even though Hawkeye is far outside his realm of helpfulness, fans and critics have fallen in love with Jeremy Renner's portrayal of Hawkeye. This makes it harder for the MCU to kill him off, but at the same time would make much sense. The MCU could finally start killing off characters and raise the stakes for superheroes in the MCU. This in turn would allow fans to connect on a deeper level with all the characters throughout the MCU. And it would definitely solve the MCU's issue of not knowing what to do with Hawkeye's character.
Is that?
What, the gem?
It's the Mind Stone. It's one of the 6 Infinity Stones, the greatest power in the universe, unparalleled in its destructive capability.
Vision. Vision is going to die. There, wasn't that so much better? Rip it off like a band-aid. There's no plausible way he survives. Vision has an Infinity Stone in his frickin' forehead. Thanos needs all 6 Infinity Stones and he will get them. So doing simple 1 + 1 math, Vision is a goner. This is gonna be hopefully a very powerful scene and we're jazzed about it. Vision will most certainly not go down without an epic battle, or at least in an emotionally charged way. The teasers for Avengers Infinity War predict this for us by showing Thanos with the completed Infinity Gauntlet. This means he has all 6 stones and Thanos will most likely rip off the 6th one right out of Vision's head. This is, however, bad news bears for Thanos, as it would send Scarlet Witch into a love-induced revenge-seeking rampage. Scarlet will then hopefully kick into high gear and begin discovering her insanely powerful superpowers we've yet to see. With Scarlet in a Hulk-like rage mode, she'd be unstoppable. This also could be very bad for the Avengers and cause a lot of unintended damage on cities and Avengers near her path of destruction.
It's all right. I'll tell Father what you did here today.
I didn't do it for him.
Loki. Of all the characters in the MCU, Loki has hands down escaped the clutches of death far too many times, mostly because his entire family was looking out for him even though they were trying to stop him.
I could have done it, Father! I could have done it! For you! For all of us!
It's not as though Thor was ever gonna really kill Loki. He was always looking out for him and trying to be the best brother he could for him. Same with Odin and Frigga, his parents. When Loki was first captured and brought back to Asgard, they took care of him. Compare that to how they would have handled other villains who attempted the same. As of now, Loki is the current ruler of Asgard, impersonating his father Odin. But this does not make him safe from the powers of Thanos. In fact, this puts him in the hot seat. Thanos is not too pleased with Loki since the first Avengers film.
Question him. He who put the scepter in your hand, who gave you ancient knowledge and new purpose.
This is when Loki opened the wormhole to allow a full-scale attack on Earth. However, this ended poorly for Thanos since Loki united the Avengers against Thanos. This could mean the next time Thanos sees Loki, he could very well kill him on sight. If none of this convinces you, take into consideration Loki has been the huge antagonist since he was introduced in the MCU. One way or another, Loki's time is up.
Why all the secrecy? Why not just tell us?
Any attempt on the director's life had to look successful.
Can't kill you if you're already dead.
Nick Fury. This guy is another of the MCU series who's been out there since the beginning of everything. He came out in the end credit sequence in Iron Man. Since, Nick Fury has been integral in forging the Avengers.
We need a response team. These people may be isolated, unbalanced even, but I believe with the right push, they can be exactly what we need.
Nick Fury is also one badass MCU character who's not going to sit idly by in the office when Thanos attempts his takeover. This means Fury will be in the crossfire of everything. And a side bonus for Marvel would be a much smaller price tag for a new S.H.I.E.L.D. director, as Samuel Jackson ain't cheap. Come on, you know these movies aren't just about the art. It's a business too. A Fury death in the MCU would more likely land a huge emotional hit with the audiences and play very well for the MCU, as it did when Coulson kicked the can. It would also allow for other characters to take his place as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. A death in the Infinity War would also be such a perfect character arc for Fury and his forging of the Avengers.
If you stay here, you'll die.
I just did. Do you know how it felt?
Scarlet Witch. So when it comes to predicting the deaths of characters in the Avengers Infinity War, Scarlet Witch has to be one of the most difficult to forecast. She's only been featured in a couple of films with no talks of future standalone films for her character. Her death is also a huge coin flip because her death could very well be tied to Vision's. If Vision is killed off, then maybe she'll live, or if she dies, then Vision will live. This is based off basic story tropes of guy and girl like each other, so one of them has to die. Or there's a scenario where they both live and consummate the tension they have for one another. Lastly, Scarlet Witch is insanely powerful. When Thanos makes his appearance, she could very well be the first to be killed off as a show of force by Thanos. Killing off one of the most powerful Avengers in the first battle would be a brilliant story and character development move. This would raise the stakes for the Avengers to work together and battle Thanos as one.
Never has an enemy slipped my watch until this day. I wish to know how that happened.
Heimdall. If, and most likely when, Thanos enters Asgard, he's gonna have to go through the almighty Heimdall. And it's not as though Heimdall is gonna stand down and try to protect his own life. This makes Heimdall's death an almost certainty. Think about this, Thanos' whole purpose in life is crossing over into different galaxies to find Infinity Stones wherever hidden or are hiding. Eventually, this will lead Thanos directly to the Tesseract, which is being held in Asgard. And which way into Asgard do you think Thanos will take? The back door, like some sort of servant? Ha! You're crazy. He's gonna go in the front door and attempt to destroy everything. Heimdall's not gonna stand by and do nothing. He will attack, and he'll do all he can to keep Thanos and his goons from getting their hands on the Tesseract. And more than likely, Heimdall will die trying to protect Odin, Thor, or in a huge story twist, Loki. If he were to save Loki, this would lie heavily on Loki's conscience and eventually cause Loki to once and for all be at Thor's side for the better good of the 9 realms.
Couldn't you just leave the bridge open for us?
Leave the bridge open would unleash the full power of the Bifrost and destroy Jotunheim with you upon it.
I have no plans to die today.
Thor. The death of Thor is probably one of the hardest to imagine actually happening. This is why we should prepare for it. MCU has been receiving flack for years now on how no one of substance ever dies. On top of that, Thor fans are annoyed at how weak Thor is in the movies. The problem for Marvel is, if they make Thor as powerful as he could be, their movies with him in them would last but a few minutes.
I am mighty.
So if they were to kill off Thor, they'd be killing off several birds with one shot. They would satisfy the masses by showing superheroes in the MCU can die. This in turn creates more powerful storytelling and audience engagement because the viewer won't be passively watching. Second, they would have to find a way to get rid of the most powerful characters without needlessly killing them off. This would satisfy fans across the board. Thirdly, Thor's films were about to wrap up with the release of Ragnarok. The film will supposedly tie the world of Asgard in with the Infinity War. Lastly, Thor has been confirmed for part 1 of the Infinity War films and not part 2.
If I can't hit you with the hammer, then I'll hit the hammer with you!
This is a huge sign there are major talks of decimating Thor's character in a battle between Thanos.
I can still save you! We are all dead. Can you not see it?
Which one of these characters dying off gets to you the most? Why don't you agree with one on this list? Who would you have added as a definite goner for the list? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to share and like this video and click that subscribe button to join our notification squad so you can stay up to date with all our videos. You don't want your friends to know more than you do you? Thanks for watching. Until next time.